This is Tracy here with another edition of View from Tracy's Point, and we are here with our Queen Sugar Season 6 Episode 5 recap. And then I just wanted to remind you guys, I was thinking about it when I was posting the Episode 4 video, which reminded me that when I posted the Episode 3 video that I forgot to put my little card in, which is telling us the portion of the poem that is being used to title each episode. And if you guys remember, probably back in Episode 2, I explained to you guys that there's this poem called Flowers and Lovers, and that they are using lines from that poem to title each episode of this season of Queen Sugar. And then in Episode 3, I made the card, and then I started highlighting in different colors the title of the episode, and I forgot to put the card in Episode 3. I remembered to do it in Episode 4 and again in this episode. So if you guys are, new to watching these recaps and you're wondering why does she have that poem posted and what's the significance of those colored lines, that is it. It is the title of each one of the episodes. So let's go ahead and get into our recap. And so as I stated, this is Episode 5. Not sure how the season is going ratings wise, but you guys let me know. Are you enjoying this season? Are you not enjoying the season? Are you waiting for that, that moment to hit us where we're like, oh my God, like this was the best season ever? Because to me, it just seems like they're just kind of, flowing along, as life goes, in real life. But when we're watching TV, we often want to see a little bit more exciting, something more exciting than the life that we're actually living. So let's go ahead. I'm going to jump to the end of the episode and talk about this first because I thought that this was the most significant part of the episode and I loved it. And it was the first time that I was actually moved to, when Prosper was knocked down in the first episode and we thought he wasn't going to make it, I was very emotional. But this episode actually brought tears to my eyes because I am a daddy's girl. So it meant a lot to me. But we know that Prosper and Billy have been in this tug of war throughout the whole season. And we know that there is some tension between them. They kind of alluded to that tension with the whole Billy and Jimmy Dale story where Billy felt that people didn't believe her, particularly that her father didn't believe her, that, Jimmy Dale came on to her, tried to attack her or whatever, but nothing happened. And then we know Aunt Vi didn't believe her. It ruined her friendship with Nova. And so to see the two of them trying to come together and mend whatever wounds that there are between them, I really love that they took that approach. And I thought it was funny that we learned that Billy's real name is Mabley. I think he said Mabley, and then they call her Billy for short. And she was like, oh my God, it's been years since anybody has called me that name before. But basically, Billy had gone out, and I believe it was in the last episode where they were arguing about or maybe it was earlier in the episode, but anyway, at some point, Billy had gone out and she had bought these pastries or these donuts and something, and she bought a coffee pot, and Prosper was telling her, he didn't need the coffee pot, he couldn't afford that, and Billy was basically saying that she had paid for the coffee pot. and she paid for the donuts so he didn't have to worry. And then he said, well, why you didn't go to Fiona's? You know, why did you go somewhere else to get these donuts? And Billy was like, you know, felt like she really couldn't do anything right or anything to make him happy. And so she had stormed off, you know, grabbed the pot and grabbed the donuts and stormed off with them. Well, we learned at the end of the episode that the reason Billy didn't go to Fiona's was because when she was younger, she had stole some donut holes. And you guys know donut holes is the little part that they cut out the real donut, and then they'll sell them in bulk bags. Well, Billy had stole some of those from Fiona's, and I guess she got caught. And so she was kind of ashamed to go back to Fiona's to get these donuts for her dad. And so then they got to talking, and then Prosper apologized for not being there for her, not supporting her, and you know, just saying, I'm sorry, let's start over. And he told her that he loved her, you know, a lot. And she said, I love you too. And then they hugged it out. And I was like, oh, you know, that was so sweet. So I'm glad that they are able to mend their fences. But I still think that there's something else. At least I want there to be something else just to make it more exciting. But you guys know, I think that Billy is not Prosper's biological daughter. I'm thinking that Prosper's wife cheated on him and Billy was a byproduct. Now, wouldn't that sound more, you know, interesting to you guys if that's what it turns out to be? But anyway, they kissed and made up, and I am happy for them. So then we go over Ralph Angel talking about his new job. Okay, now we know Ralph Angel ain't got no job. He out there with that dude doing something that he doesn't have any business doing. So Charlie and Ralph Angel are sitting, I think they were at Nova's house, and Nova was on the phone with this some person that she knew, that she thought she had a connection with, that was going to get to the bottom of them digging into the yard. And so Nova and Charlie have contacted people that they know to try and stop the investigation of this missing person. And you guys remember, you know, they were digging up the farm, trying to find these bodies from what Nova had mentioned in her book about Ernest killing these guys who was bothering her when they had went fishing one day. And so then there was a scene with Aunt Vi in Hollywood, and they're at the restaurant packing up care packages. And Aunt Vi thanks him for supporting her and Celine and Gabriel. And then Hollywood tells her that the Ernest situation will eventually blow over, that they just need to, you know, be patient. It is probably nothing. And I think most of us had that same feeling from the beginning. I was thinking that it was going to turn out to be dog bones or something, you know, that it wasn't going to be a human. Okay, so it was this episode. I was thinking it was last episode because I was really late with episode 4's recap. And so I was getting confused, like, was the whole thing about the coffee maker last episode or was it this episode? So it was the beginning of this episode where Billy comes in with the coffee pot and the donuts, and Prosper was ungrateful. So then later on, we have a scene with Darla and Ralph Angel, and they're in the bed, which Darla's in the bed, and Ralph Angel walks in, and she tells him that she's worried about everything because, you know, that she wants to have the baby at home with the doula, and then they found out that they have to have a midwife also. Neither one of them are really working, really have a job, you know, but Ralph Angel says that they'll be all right, but Darla is skeptical, and she is like really stressing out. And then she tells Ralph Angel, then when Ralph Angel told her that Theo had hooked him up with the job, of course, Darla is like, oh, hell no, like like the rest of us, like, why are you getting involved with this ex-con? You know, this is probably some down low, under the table stuff. So this is just adding to her worry that something is going on. And you guys remember, Darla had some kind of premonition where she was saying that she just felt like something was about to happen, that like there was a storm brewing. And so that storm we thought was maybe them out there digging up that grave, but now is Ralph Angel, you know, out here dealing with Theo in this illegal activity. And so it just seems like everybody can see that Theo is trouble, but the one person with the most experience with ex-cons, so Ralph Angel should be able to see a con a mile away, but he seems to be in the dark and thinking that everything is going to work out. So then we go to Charlie, and Charlie is at home and she's reading an article about her and Davis in one of these tabloids. And I think the title of it was If Ride or Die Was a Person. So now the tide is turning and people aren't as supportive of her taking Davis back. You know, they're once a cheater, always a cheater. And people just really don't want to give them a chance. And we know that that's how social media works in real life. Like people just get on social media, say whatever they want to say, put their insecurities and their judgments and everything on other people, on celebrities and famous people. Like, you don't know those people's struggle. You don't know where those people are coming from. And who are you to tell this woman who she can love and who she can't love? Like, if she thinks she can make it work with Davis, then by all means, she should give it a shot. But don't be putting the fact that you ain't got a man and can't keep a man on her and then want her to be alone because you're alone. So that's how I look at it. Okay. So what happened next? So Micah came in and she closes down her laptop, and then he asks her, you know, what she's thinking about. And then Charlie, you know, basically just opens up and lets him know that everything that's been happening recently and how it's impacting her and decisions, you know, that she needs to make. So then Charlie had asked Micah about his cologne, because evidently he was wearing some really heavy cologne. And Charlie was like, what is that? You know, he probably done poured the whole bottle on. Y'all know how young boys be doing. And she didn't seem to think that Micah had worn cologne before. But Micah said that, you know, this wasn't the first time he had worn cologne. So she kind of like toned it down a little bit. And so I was thinking that it's interesting. And I talked about this in episode 4, that we haven't seen Davis since the 3rd episode when him and Charlie, you know, did the video for IG, where they were announcing that they were back together. So not sure what that's all about. I think I mentioned in the last video that, you know, it might be budget cuts, you know, because actors are paid by the episode, not by the season. And so the less, you know, they cut money or save money by not having their higher price actors in every episode, or they may have a mid-level actor at a certain cost, but then they need to bring in other actors. And so they'll limit those people, the main people who are making the most money, they'll limit their episodes. And so we'll just have to wait and see, like, is David having second thoughts, or is he just busy with his new job that, you know, we aren't seeing him as much? Or, you know, when Charlie called him on the phone in the last episode, he didn't answer. She got his voicemail. So not sure what's going on with Davis, if Davis is having some second thoughts, or, you know, if it's just procedural that they are not including him in episodes. Then let's see. And then Michael shares with Charlie, you know, about the anxiety attacks that he's been having. And he seems to be coming to terms with it. And he tells her that, you know, he has to realize that he can't always be in control. And then he mentions that he's been having, so he was talking about being in control. And then that's when he tells her about the anxiety attacks. But he realizes that he can't control actions or other people's actions, that he can only control how he reacts to what's going on. So instead of freaking out because a police officer or a security guard ran past him, you know, he can just take a deep breath and say, that's not about me. I have nothing to do with that. And so I shouldn't be afraid every time I see a police officer. And so, and I'm glad that he's finally opening up to Charlie about what he's going through. And I also appreciate the fact that Charlie didn't freak out like most parents would have been freaking out, like, why didn't you tell me this was going on? You know, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. But Charlie just listened, you know, and just let him talk it out himself. And, you know, just encouraged him that everything was going to be better. And she basically treated him like an adult, not like he was her child. So then we have a scene with Nova, and Nova is down at the medical examiner's office, basically trying to force the medical examiner to tell them the results of the test on the bone that they found on the property before they go public. And I'm just like, no, but who do you think you are that somebody owes you that? The way the Bordelons are hated in St. Joe, what would make you think that this man is going to make an exception and notify you before he notifies anybody else or notifies the police? And so he basically dismissed Nova, and she really didn't appreciate that he dismissed her, but that's how that conversation ended. So then, for some strange reason, Darla decided to go visit Aunt Vi. And so she was going to pick up some care packages that Aunt Vi had fixed for them, because we know that ever since COVID broke out, Aunt Vi just been giving away food, right? You know, they go up there and they pack the boxes and the bags and everything. So now it's Darla's time to go get a package. But then she decides that she needs to confide in Aunt Vi about this money. Remember the college fund money that she came across and she asked Ralph Angel about? So she confides in Aunt Vi about that money, and then Aunt Vi said, well, what are you going to do? And so she said that she basically had then called her parents and told her parents she wanted that money and that they had gave her that money. And then Aunt Vi was like, oh, well, I'm glad you talked to me about it, and honey, you have nothing to be ashamed about. You know, there's nothing wrong with a woman having her own little private bank account with some money stored away. And then she told Darla that she had 2 little private accounts that Hollywood don't know nothing about. So that seemed to make Darla feel like she was making the right decision. But I, for the life of me, could not understand, with all the rift between Aunt Vi and Ralph Angel, why she would go to Aunt Vi and share something that serious, where he had told her not to go and get that money and she decided to go get it. Now, I'm not saying she shouldn't have gotten the money, because I would have went and got the money. I wouldn't even ask his permission to get the money. But the fact that he said he didn't want her to get the money, she should not have confided in Aunt Vi. So then we go over to the real spot, and we have Ralph Angel and Prosper, you know, showing up to visit Hollywood. And I'm just wondering, how is the real spot really doing? Because we never see anybody in there. Ever since they had the grand opening, it's always just Hollywood kind of meandering around, wiping down the counters, and then Hollywood and Prosper drop by, but we never see any extras in the background. But if you notice that whenever they show the Vi's location, that there's always people there. There's people at the tables. There are people volunteering, helping to pack the care packages. And so it's just some little nuances, you know, that we have to pay attention to, because is Aunt Vi thriving and Hollywood's spot not going to work out? Or is that just something that they overlook in the filming of the show? So Hollywood pours them some drinks. I think it was some gin that they were about to have, or was it? No, gin is white liquor, right? You can tell I don't drink. It was some brown liquor, so maybe it was some whiskey that he was pouring. And so they all vent about their Aunt Vi drama. You know, everybody got an issue with Aunt Vi. And so Hollywood and Ralph Angel tell Prosper not to worry about his drama with Aunt Vi, but to focus on rebuilding his relationship with Billy. And then Hollywood says that Aunt Vi hasn't even mentioned Billy. So he was telling Prosper, like, it's really not as serious as you think it is. Like, Aunt Vi isn't upset or whatever she's going through. Because if she was, then she would have been talking about Billy and why Prosper, you know, shouldn't forgive Billy, or why Billy needs to leave. But she hasn't, so he can chill out. And then Ralph Angel says that he would love to make things right with Ernest, you know, basically telling Prosper that, you know, don't turn your back on Billy. Use this opportunity, like God has given you a second chance to mend the fences with Billy. So take advantage of this opportunity, because he would do anything, you know, in his power to have his dad back and for them to make amends. So then Nova's nosy neighbor Dominic, who just keeps showing up out of the blue. So he stops by to check on her, and let's see. Oh, and then Nova was telling him that he is her inspiration for a new article that she's putting on her True Papers website, and she thanks him. And then Dominic was like, well, dang, I don't get to read the article, like, since I inspired it. But Nova was like, no, you'll read it when everybody else read it, when I post it on the website. And so I am still trying to figure out what is going on with Dominic. Okay, like, he feels like he's a federal agent or something, like he's there to spy on Nova. And I say that because some of these conversations and the things that he's telling her to fill in the spaces of his backstory, just not making any sense. And I told you guys about when he was talking about the mother having run-ins with the police, and, you know, things that his mother had issues with the police, how that traumatized him. And then he turned around and said he was 2 years old when the mother and the police had the interactions. And so, like, hey, well, how traumatized were you? So anyway, oh, and then I was wondering if he, like, is he, you know, we had the show, the Black Panther Party that came out, that told the Fred Hampton story, came out earlier this year. So I'm like, okay, maybe they're trying to do a play on that. And Dominic is going to be like the Bill O'Neill guy who was actually the federal informant that helped them take down Fred Hampton. So maybe Nova is putting herself up there with Fred Hampton and the Black Panther Party. And Dominic is this person that has been sent in to work undercover, and not necessarily a federal agent, because the Bill O'Neill guy was not a federal agent. He was someone who had been arrested. And in order not to go to prison, he agreed to go and infiltrate the Black Panther Party. And so maybe Dominic is there to infiltrate Nova and her social structure. So later on that night, Ralph Angel meets with Theo, you know, about his job opportunity, when the only job opportunity he needed was the one that was given to him working at that nursing home that for some reason he thought he needed to quit. And so, of course, Theo is being real shady, and he tells Ralph Angel that he's the only person that he can trust. And he said that they go back like babies and pacifiers. Well, we all know that pacifiers really aren't good for babies either, right? So that you shouldn't be letting your baby suck on pacifiers all the time. And Ralph Angel, you shouldn't be letting Theo back into your life. So in order to solidify their partnership, Theo gives Ralph Angel a wad of cash. And then Theo says that he's trying to pay him back for holding him down while they were locked up. And so Ralph Angel is really acting dumb and naive, like he really don't know what's really going on. And he know that that's a down payment, that is not a gift, and that he will eventually have to repay that money at some point, which we actually find out that he does later on in the episode. Let's see. So it's the next day, and Charlie stops by Nova's, and they talk about the recent article and backlash that Charlie is facing on Twitter. And I'm just like, girl, stop giving social media all of your energy. You know, so they brought up Black Twitter. So shout out to Black Twitter, you know, because Black Twitter is a thing, okay? They are creating clicks and views on Twitter and ain't getting a penny for it. So Twitter is happy that we have created our own Black community, and it isn't always for the good. Most of the time, it is just to bring down other Black people. So anyway, people in general, you know, overlook the good and focus on what they think is going to hurt and not build people up. And that's what Charlie is experiencing. So then we go over to Aunt Vi in Hollywood, and they have Celine and Gabriel over for dinner. And their guests are impressed with the food. They think that Aunt Vi can throw down in the kitchen, okay? So then Celine tells Aunt Vi that she's a miracle worker because Gabriel never asked for seconds of vegetables, but he was like acting like he was starving and eating up all the food. And I think he had asked for some extra broccoli or something. So Celine tells Aunt Vi that she has some good news, that she got the ball rolling on her divorce. And you guys remember Aunt Vi had told her that the only way she's going to move forward and live in peace is if she go ahead and divorce her husband so that her and Gabriel can move on with their lives. So now I don't know if it was just me, But it just seemed like Celine was being all googly-eyed with Hollywood, because Hollywood had gave Gabriel a basketball, and I think they were making plans to go play. And so, that really put a smile on her face that, here's a man, strong black man, taking an interest in her child. And so she was looking all up at Hollywood, and she was just like smiling. And how girls reacting when they, all smitten with you, when the boy you liked in school came along and you just got all giddy. Well, that's kind of like how Celine was acting. And so she, turns to thank Hollywood. And, I guess she called herself like, oh, this might not be a good look. So then she turned to Aunt Vi and tells her, that she and Hollywood, what they have together is special. And then she turns back to Hollywood and says, if you could bottle it up and sell it, you would be rich. Now, she was talking to Aunt Vi, but she was looking at Hollywood when she was saying it. So I don't know if Aunt Vi was catching on to what was going on, but I was catching on like, girl, you better keep your eye on Miss Celine. Celine went and got that divorce so she could take your man. And so I was thinking, Aunt Vi should know better than anyone not to be bringing some strange woman into her home. And, especially after the way she said that Jimmy Dale was cheating on her the way that he was. And so I bet we find out that the source of Celine's husband's jealousy is her flirtatious ways with other men. Like, that's probably what was driving him over the top. So then we go back to Micah and this boy Isaiah. So Isaiah come by Micah's room and he asks Micah about the meditation, and then, is it working for him? And then he comes across these pictures that Micah took, and he's looking at the picture, telling Michael like, damn, I didn't know you were this talented, with the camera. And so this leads to him asking Micah, if he would take his pictures for social media. And so Micah agrees, and then all of a sudden Isaiah started posing. I thought Isaiah was about to take his shirt off, Because y'all know, I still think that Isaiah is trying to lure Micah into a relationship. And so I'm thinking that the angle that the show is trying to take is that instead of looking at it as, the whole gay setup, like gay men are attracted to gay men, or you ask a person, like you say to a person, oh, I'm gay, are you gay? Can we get together and go out or whatever? I think what they're doing is trying to remove that stigma and say that people are just attracted to people. It doesn't matter if you're straight or gay, if it's a same-sex attraction or opposite-sex attraction, that you should just shoot your shot and that you can be attracted to a person. So the same way that a man would be attracted to a woman and approach that woman, that it should be okay for a man to have an attraction to another man and approach him the same way that he would have approached that woman. And so I think they're trying to mold us into thinking that these are just natural attractions, and that you can, Micah can have a fling with his female teacher just as quickly as he could have a fling with his frat brother. That's where I think they're going with this. But you let me know in the comments what you think about it. So then it's the night that Ralph Angel is supposed to be working with Theo. And so he shows up, where the job is supposed to be. And so he's sitting in the driver's seat of the van, and he's praying and asking God for forgiveness. Now, I don't know if he asked for forgiveness for what he's about to do, because he know he's about to get into some mess, or if he was asking for forgiveness for his past transgression. But in any event, his prayers didn't do no good, because Theo just led him to the water. Okay. So Theo basically said that the guy who was supposed to be helping him unload the stuff or load the stuff didn't show up, so he needed Ralph Angel to get out of the van and help him load the stuff. And Ralph Angel was kind of reluctant, but then Theo was like, well, if you don't want to do it, just give me back the money. And I was like, well, I thought the money was a gift. But Theo said, give me back that money. But I'm sure Ralph Angel has already spent the money, because they had those payday loans out. They were behind on different things. So he had no option. Well, he did have an option, but he chose the get out the van and do what this man said, pay off his debt and then move on. So when Ralph Angel was loading the van, he gets even more fearful. Like, you know, the Spirit of God was coming down on him, telling him that he was wrong. And so when they were done, Ralph Angel tells Theo that this is the only job that he's taking. He's not doing this anymore. And then Theo was pretty much cool with that and gives Ralph Angel his cut of the money that I guess he would have given the other guy. But Theo know that Ralph Angel gonna keep coming back because he needs the money. He has no other money coming in. So then later on, Ralph Angel, you know, he's driving home. It's dark, and I can't remember if it was raining or not, or drizzling, but we know it was dark and kind of foggy when all of a sudden all these police cars come, like he could see the lights flashing behind him. So of course he's panicking and freaking out. He pulls over to the side of the road, but the police cars speed by him. And so he takes a deep breath, like, thank you, Jesus. You know, and then he gets back on the road and heads home. And let's see, there was a scene with Charlie and Nova, and they were reminiscing about Ernest and the drama on the farm. And then Charlie asks Nova, like, do you really think Dad killed anyone? And Nova says that if he did, it was for a good reason. So they still don't know if it really is bodies buried out there on the farm. So then at home, Aunt Vi and Hollywood are talking about Celine and Gabriel. And Aunt Vi mentions how hanging around Gabriel has really brought something out of Hollywood. She can see a change in him. You know, he just seems to be more happy and enthusiastic, and he loves spending time with Gabriel. And so Aunt Vi, you know, is wondering, like, if Hollywood would want his own children. But Hollywood says that that is not on his mind, and he kind of brushed Aunt Vi off and responded to her as he was getting up, going to the bathroom. And so Aunt Vi was telling him, like, you know, I believe that everybody has that desire to have children. And she says that she even thinks that Nova, you know, of all people, will one day end up having kids. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, Aunt Vi, because Nova just doesn't look like she's interested in having children. But Hollywood says that legacy is about more than having kids. And Aunt Vi seemed bothered, like her facial expression seemed really bothered by that statement. So I don't know if this is going to lead to friction in their relationship. Maybe Aunt Vi is going to want him to stop spending so much time with Gabriel. But we know that this is building up to something bigger coming along down the road, and it needs to come along real quick because I think there's only like 5 more episodes to come if this is a 10 episode season. So it's the following morning, and Aunt Vi and Charlie are together. And so Charlie had came over with this bowl, and Aunt Vi kept calling them pastries, but obviously they weren't tasting too good because Aunt Vi took a bite and then put it down and then told Charlie, cut through the chase and tell me why you here. So Charlie was there basically because she is really bothered by this social media feedback about her and Davis getting back together. And then Aunt Vi told her what I would have told her, and that is, it's none of their business. Stop listening to those people. Those people don't know you. They don't know your relationship. They don't know your situation. Tell those people to mind their own business. And so Aunt Vi asked Charlie, she was like, have I ever asked you what you think about Hollywood? And Charlie was like, no. And then Aunt Vi said, because it doesn't matter what you think about it. Like, he's the man that I love. He's the man that I chose. So what I think about him is the only thing that matters. But we know that Charlie, this is probably going to drive her crazy, and it's probably going to end up hurting her relationship with Davis. So we'll see how that works out. And then she probably, and I think Aunt Vi told her she had no business going on Gayle King talking about her relationship with Davis, that she should have kept it about the politics and told Gayle King that, you know, her personal life was off topic. And let's see. Oh, and then after they got through all of that, we found out that it wasn't cupcakes. I thought they were cupcakes. And then Charlie told her that they were croissants. And so I was like, I thought Charlie could cook, but evidently she can't bake. And let's see, then we go over, and there was a scene with Billy and Nova where Billy reads the article that Nova had written, and she lets her know that if she posts the article, she's going to draw even further ear from the police. So this must have been a second article about the informant guy. Remember, she was writing that article about the stuff that he was telling her was going on with the police department. And so then Billy apologizes. At that point, they talk about that, and then Billy uses this opportunity to apologize for telling Ernest about Nova being gay. And then Nova accepts the apology and says that she wants to focus on their future together. And then Billy told Nova that she was her first and only best friend that she ever had. And so then they just start talking about going through life, comparing their friendship to friendships throughout their life. And so it seems like neither one of them, after that bond broke up, it really impacted their future relationships, and neither one was able ever to trust another friend to the point, where they would reveal their secrets or anything. And so what the whole Jimmy Dale story and the whole telling Ernest that Nova was gay had negative impacts on both of them. With Billy, she felt that she couldn't share her secrets with people, that they weren't going to believe her or shun her. And then Nova thinking she couldn't tell secrets to people because they were going to go and reveal those secrets. So I thought that was a very interesting concept that they came up with. So then we have a scene where the family gathers at Aunt Vi's restaurant after learning that the bones that they found really were not the three men, were not from one of the three men. They turned out to be like 150 years old. So maybe some slaves was once on the land and died and was buried there. And so, but they were happy that it proved that Ernest didn't kill anyone. And then once again, I'm thinking, as big as that farm is, unless they knew the specific spot based on Nova's recollection and what she put in the book, maybe the bones could be buried somewhere else. Like, we don't know. But anyway, it sparked Ralph Angel into wondering, well, if those weren't bones from the three men, whose bones were they? So this looks like another journey that they're about to go on to try and figure out the history of the land and who could have been buried there. So then we go back to Micah and Isaiah. And so they're hanging out for Micah to do this photo shoot of Isaiah for his social media, right? So Isaiah starts sharing with Micah that, he's been really distracted and he doesn't think he passed one of his exams that was really important. And he says that, let's see. I can't remember which one of them said they were ready for an adventure, but then Micah basically is now the one consoling Isaiah and telling him that everything is going to be all right. And he lets Isaiah know that, he's there, to talk about whatever it is. They both were like, they're there to talk about whatever with each other, to listen and be that confidant. And then all of a sudden, Isaiah hugs Micah. And so, it was like a brotherly hug, but then there were two guys coming up the hallway who was looking at them like, what the hell? Now, I don't know if they was looking at them like, what the hell, because they know Isaiah is gay, or if they just thought it was weird that two of them were hugging. But anyway, they gave them that look like, I know I just didn't see what I saw. And then Isaiah had a look on his face like, I couldn't tell if it was like an oh hell look or if it was a relief, like, yeah, start that rumor that me and Micah are together. So I really couldn't figure out what his look was all about. Let's see, what else happened? Let's see. Oh, then there was a scene at the restaurant with Ralph Angel and Darla. And Ralph Angel lets Darla know that he booked them a baby moon getaway and some bread and breakfast, and, telling Darla that she deserved it. And I'm just sitting there looking at Ralph Angel like, y'all are struggling financially. What do you need a baby moon for? What What is wrong with him? So that just lets us know that he is not giving up on Theo. And as a matter of fact, he told Darla, don't worry about it, because he's going to work another shift next week. So I guess that money was looking good and feeling good in his pocket. And so he, is going to stay doing whatever he's doing with Theo. And so I was just thinking that Ralph, Angel, and Darla are very slow, because you living off of payday loans without a job, and the first check or the first money you get, you go and spend it on a baby moon. Oh, they're just gonna let social media mess them up. Y'all better stop doing stuff that y'all really can't afford just to impress people. So then we have a scene with Nova and Dominic, who stops by, for a special favor. And so Nova requests help to test the remains found on the farm. So Dominic showed up because I guess Nova called for him because she needed a favor, and she wanted help with him. She wanted him to help her get the bones tested. And so he agrees, and then he invites Nova to go jogging with him. And so I don't know what's going to happen between Nova and Dominic, but I think that Dominic is going to end up hurting her in the end, like every other man she done been involved with, brother. Like, we found out Calvin was beating up the black people while on the police force. Now, I did like the Devereaux guy, remember the really smart guy that she met, but seemed like Nova had an issue with him. Maybe he challenged her too much. And then Remy, when she tried to have a little fling with Remy, and then, they said, no, you can't be dating the guy because he dated your sister. So it's just always something with the men and even the women that Nova has dated. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But just remember, I think that he is going to be the William Bill O'Neill for Nova. And he is probably working with the CIA or whoever is investigating Nova. So that's it for me. Go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.